try it live.
Sounds
welcome,
good.
Welcome, everybody. Phil Nagy on Sports, joined as always by my cousin Kit, bringing his analysis to you from the beautiful banks of Russell Wilson's playground there in downtown Seattle. So, but we're here. We just finished the sim, and we're excited to get after it. Of course, big Week 8 matchup, Browns and the Las Vegas Raiders tomorrow at First Energy Stadium. So without further ado, Kit, what are our offensive keys to the game?
So for the offense, first of all, it's going to start with ball distribution. We got to get the ball distributed to our playmakers. OBJ being out obviously takes away from that, but we have a lot of players that can still make plays. So distributing the ball to the different guys out there. There's a lot of receivers, DPJ, Hollywood. We got some tight ends that we can get into the action with Abercrombie. We can get some Njoku in there. And then, of course, our running backs getting the ball with Hunt and Dearness Johnson and getting that ball distribution and a good balance early is going to be really important. Secondly, game planning to stabilize Baker early in the game is going to be really important for us. Rather than, throwing a pick and 5 incompletions to start the game, if we get him going like we did, Bengals game 1, where he rolled out through the first completion and then he was kind of on a roll from there. If we can do that in this game, that's going to be important. So getting that stabilization to begin with, rather than having him struggle in that first quarter and then have to kind of play from behind instead. And then the last key here on the offense is to continue to ball out in the big moments. We really showed that in a big way for the first time, I think, all season against the Bengals, which I think if we can find a way to really make those plays when it matters, that's going to be really clutch for us, and I think could be big in this one.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be awesome for sure. All right, what about the defensive side of the ball? Again, continued to give up a lot of yards and some points to Joe Burrow last week. David Carr has weapons. Josh Jacobs is a very, very talented running back. They've got a very good offensive line. What are the Browns' defensive keys for victory this weekend?
So first of all, yes, they do have a very good offense, but we can certainly work with what we've got to get this done. It's going to start with third downs. We have to get off the field on third downs. We have to find a way. The Bengals were 6-9, which is just way too much. They were way too successful on third down, especially some of the longer conversions, which we just can't have. We Burrow scrambling for 12, 13 yards. I mean, some of those things are killer. And made that game a lot more close than it potentially had to be. So if we can find ways to get ourselves off the field there with our defense on the third downs, maybe that's for a field goal rather than a converted touchdown, or it's a field goal attempt really, or that's a punt situation. Either of those options are going to be better for us. And then for the next key here is going to be finding ways to prevent the deep ball. They have some real playmakers, and in fact, Aguilar, a guy that hasn't really made Nelson Aguilar hasn't made a lot of noise. He's not a huge name out there, but ironically, he's tied with DK Metcalf for some of his long ball statistics this year. So Ruggs is definitely a playmaker. We've seen that with our own sim. He's a burner. Aguilar's been making some really great plays downfield. Carr's been on point, putting them into the bucket. So if we can find a way to prevent that, that will really help us. And then I know they've got Waller, and he can be really devastating underneath. But I'd rather take that and then potentially come up with a play than trying to deal with the fact that they could be scoring at will down the field, throwing a long ball. So then the last key here is something that I think we're all really feeling. Which is we've got to win those one-on-ones. Miles creates tons of one-on-ones across the defensive line because they're going double team to triple team with a chip essentially on Miles, and he's still making plays. He's still producing. He's still making pressure or getting pressure on the quarterback, but we've got to win those one-on-ones. I mean, that we're not paying this much for OV to not be getting the production he's not getting right now. It's ridiculous. So we've got to get that. I think this is a good opportunity to really come out as a defensive line and prove that those guys have some play too. Those guys are good. If they can get in there and get involved, I think Larry O could potentially have a good game for us here. And I think we could potentially see some more from Sheldon Richardson And hopefully we see something from the opposite line. Maybe whether that's Claiborne, whether that's Porter Gustin, or potentially OV, whoever it is. If we can get some of those one-on-one matchups won, we could really do some good things with our defense here.
For sure, for sure. Hopefully some leaked trade rumors about OV will light a fire under his butt and he'll get after it for sure. So, all right, overall keys for Browns victory tomorrow.
Okay, so it's going to start with three-phase complementary football, special teams, offense, and defense, getting everybody clicking together, coming out there and playing as a team. Team football is paramount in the NFL. And the teams that play as a team in the complementary sense are the ones that are going to win. That's the winning franchises are always complementary football teams. Secondly, we've got to win in the trenches. I think we have a really good opportunity to do that tomorrow. I think we really have some good matchups there for us in our favor, but we've got to go in and win those. And then the last piece is going to be win the turnover margin. That's always going to be the case for us. We've been really good about taking the ball away. We're the best team in the NFL at the turnover margin, or at the turnovers right now. So if we can continue to do that in this one, I think that's going to be huge for us.
Indeed, indeed. All right, we're going to kind of skip over under today and just do a little bit more. What could be more likely to happen based on some of these matchups? Just because the sim didn't really give us a lot of good stats to kind of play with. It was just kind of a weird sim altogether. If you haven't seen it, go back and check it out. Especially the end of the game, it got real weird. But first one, let's go running back to running back. Josh Jacobs, Kareem Hunt. Who's got more yards tomorrow?
So I got to give this to Hunt. I know Hunt is not Chubb. Together, they're much better than Hunt by himself. I mean, that's a clear downgrade from Hunt being the backup to D'Ernest being the backup. But on the other hand, Jacobs really struggled this season. I think we have a great defensive line, especially with stopping the run. Our linebackers have really been plug and play as far as getting in there and plugging holes. In a good way, exactly the way we want to be. We've been great at stopping the run this year. So I think we definitely step up to the challenge on that one. I think Hunt's going to have more yardage here.
For sure. All right. What is more likely to happen? The Browns' leading receiver, whoever has the most receptions and or yards for the Browns, will it be someone from the wide receiver position or not, like tight end, running back?
So I think it's going to be a wide receiver. I actually think Hollywood is probably going to do it again in this game. I think he's going to have he really established that rapport. We saw that back in 2018 once he kind of got going. He had several games in a row where he was just like, it was like, and there's Higgins, and there's Higgins, and there's Higgins. And I think that's going to be the case again in this game. He's on a roll. They've talked about having a great week in practice. If you go back and look at some of the interviews and the way they were talking about how the receivers were performing in practice this year or this week, I think that has been evident that is the case. And I think Higgins is really going to have a game.
For sure. That would be great. And then last but not least, we've talked about it. Derek Carr has been very efficient with the football, only 3 interceptions so far this year. The Browns, one of the tops in the NFL at intercepting and taking the football away. So we'll set the over-under at 0.5, right? Will Derek Carr throw an interception? Will we be able to pick him off at least once tomorrow?
I do think so, yes. I think we'll take at least one away, if not multiple. But yeah, I'll give us at least one pick. I think that's going to come at a minimum amount of pressure from Myles Garrett because we know he's going to get pressure. He hasn't had a single game without a pressure. In fact, he's got a 6-game sack streak going right now, which is pretty darn impressive. So yes, I do think we see an interception in this game.
That would be awesome. Okay, the sim had it 27-24 Raiders coming into Cleveland and pulling out the road win. What is our official Nagy on Sports score prediction for tomorrow?
So I think that's much too low. I think this is going to be the kind of classic shootout. I think both of these defenses can be exploited, and probably will be exploited by these offenses. So it's going to be a much more score-rich environment here. I think it's going to be 45-38 Browns in this one.
All the points, 45-38 Browns. All right, you heard it here first, folks. If you're going to bet the over, it sounds like that might take care of it this week. So, well, that's it. We appreciate it. We tried it live for the first time. Let us know in the comments of the video whether you liked this format. Again, it took away my little cheesy graphics, but it also was much easier to make than having to put graphics in and then export it and upload it. So Let me just triple check, make sure no one has any questions or comments on our actual stream. And it doesn't look like they are today, but we do have 2 people watching randomly. So welcome if you're watching randomly. We appreciate that. But other than that, thank you to the subscribers. We really appreciate you. For Kid on the West Coast, Phil Nagy for Nagy on Sports, we really appreciate everybody. And as always, go.